Hi, and welcome to the accessibility presentation, quick tips to put in practice, and some general info on accessibility. My name is Faye Mazia. I'm the Electronic and Technical Services Librarian at Touro University Nevada, and I'm going to be doing part 1 of 2 for this presentation. The agenda for today, I'm going to discuss fonts, color contrast, links, alternative text, and abbreviation and acronyms. And part 2, which will be done by Megan DeArmond, she will cover PowerPoint accessibility checkers, audio described videos, WCAG's 2.2 guidelines, and the EEAAP. So first, for fonts. For web accessibility, be sure to use sans serif fonts rather than serif fonts. A serif font is a type of letter form that has extending features or serifs added to the letters. An example of a serif font is Times New Roman. As you can see in the figure, all the portions highlighted in red are unnecessary for the reader to identify the letter. Therefore, a sans serif font does not have these extending features and is simplistic and easier to read on a digital screen. The most popular sans serif fonts used today in an office setting are Arial, Calibri, Helvetica, and Tahoma, but there are many more. You can visit Typewolf for the latest fonts that can be used for web design. And a final note about fonts is that you want to avoid the overuse of bold, italic, and all caps. Color contrast is another important element of web accessibility. By now, I'm sure most of us are aware that the colors red and green can be difficult to differentiate for some people, but the World Wide Web Consortium, or the W3C, has developed a few more guidelines to ensure web pages are viewable for all. First, it is recommended to avoid primary red colored text altogether, and also the blue and yellow color text combination. The main objective for text color and accessibility is to have a high contrast. To understand this for yourself or to test out other color combinations, check out the contrast checker on webaim.org. So I'm going to do a quick demo right now. This is the contrast checker tool. As you can see, I have primary blue as my font text and white as my background text. And the contrast ratio between these two colors is pretty high, and it passes all of the WCAG AA and AAA tests. But as I change the color of my font and make it lighter, you can see I start failing the tests as the contrast ratio gets lower and the text gets more difficult to read. For links, most of the tips for links are to provide accessibility to those who use the screen reader assistive technology. First, always label your links instead of just posting a full URL. The first example, visit Touro University Nevada here, followed by the full URL, would be challenging for people who use a screen reader because the screen reader would read out the entire URL. Next, avoid spatial or visual references, such as in the second example. To visit Touro University Nevada, click here. It might not always be clear to what here is referring. Furthermore, you should avoid other spatial or visual reference language, such as click the icon on the right or look at the photo on the left. Best practice dictates using clear labels for hyperlinks, such as in the third example, visit the Touro University Nevada. A final note about linking is to always ensure links are underlined. Some content management systems will change links to a blue-colored font but won't underline them. And as we know from our previous slide, blue text might be hard for some people to read. So underlined text is the surest way links will be clear to all. Always remember to include alternative text when using photos or pictures on your web page. In addition to photos, You should also include alternative text for infographics such as graphs and tables describing what that infographic represents. You also want to avoid using tables when presenting non-data information, such as just using a table as a style choice. To add alternative text to an image in Google Suite or Office Suite, you can simply right-click the image and you will see a drop-down menu with the choice to add alt text. It is also available on LibreOffice Impress, but it is labeled description instead of alt text. Here's an example of the HTML tag for a photo with alternative text from one of our subject guides. Abbreviations and acronyms might not always be clear for two reasons. First, someone might not know what the abbreviation or acronym stands for. Second, for those using assistive technology, such as a screen reader, the abbreviation might be read as a word instead of being spelled out. To help with both these issues, you can use the HTML tag around the abbreviation, and you can include the title in the abbreviation tag, which will create a pop-up with the full name when you hover your cursor over the abbreviation. So I have a couple examples here, but I'm going to go to one of our research guides. And you can see right here, I have an abbreviation, TUN, which is Touro University Nevada. If I hover my cursor over it, I will get the pop-up that says Touro University Nevada. So that concludes part 1 of the accessibility presentation, and I will hand it over to Megan. Thank you very much.